In 1997, I played a game called Abe's Oddysee that pretty much changed the entire way I looked at video games.
Nice.
Just visually, the way it looked and felt like a real high-budget cartoon. The characters felt real to me. The gameplay felt connected to Abe, the hero. And now I've got Lorne Lanning here, who created the original Oddworld, and now we have Oddworld New and Tasty, where we are revisiting that original game.
We are.
That's amazing, man, and it's all completely redone. What I love about this is not an upscale. This is not we cleaned up the old bitmaps,
Right.
the old animation. You have rebuilt this game from the ground up.
We have. Working with Oddworld and Joe worked together, and we saw an opportunity with the limited funds that we had to revisit the original Abe, and we, since 2008, we've been really getting more in touch with community, getting our games online. And in doing that, we got a lot of response from the audience, and they really wanted to see Abe. They wanted to see Abe back. And we said, well, how can we do that in a special way, but yet retain true to the integrity of the original design? And if, speaking of the original design, it was 1997 that released, right? That was before the first Toy Story movie, right? If you put it into perspective. And so at the time, there wasn't even CG motion pictures. At the time, there was still people arguing whether computer graphic characters would ever be able to really compel an audience. And I always thought that was just, being someone from 3D computer graphics, that was just kind of crazy. It was obvious to me that the future was going to be more expressive in computer graphics. And so Abe was our first opportunity to really tell a story, our own story, using the mediums that we loved, which was 3D computer graphics and gaming. And we were really trying to bring, Hollywood production value, Hollywood storytelling, and real sort of high design in terms of integrating character abilities, what the character does, who the character is emotionally, situationally, the world they're living in, and really trying to bring them into a synergized experience where it just didn't feel like the character was an excuse for the game, but it felt like the two were integral and could not be separated.
Absolutely, and I think that still makes the gameplay feel fresh even today, because everything is motivated by who Abe is, right? Like Abe's a wimp. He's scared.
Yeah,
and so
right.
It's not, this was the first time I played it. It looked like a platformer. It felt like a platformer.
Yeah.
But you can't hurt anybody. You got to convince people to help you out because you're a weakling. It was all just so fresh. When you came back to completely redesign this, was there anything you wanted to tweak in terms of gameplay, in terms of interface, to kind of update it?
I mean, there was a number of things, right? The original game was very hard. Now, oddly enough, a lot of people had told us it was the first game we ever finished, but man, was it hard. And then there was a lot of other people who said, I so wanted to play that game, and it was too hard. So one of the things we knew we had to address was just difficulty levels. We had to make it more accessible for people with a lighter dexterity, and we had to make it equally as tough as the original for the people who wanted that nostalgic, hardcore feeling. But in the process of doing both, we also knew that we're changing. I mean, we had the benefit of having released the game, of having years of people playing it, and learned, what to do. And we fixed a number of those things in the following game, which was called Abe's Exodus. And then like quick save and perfect save, and things we had screwed up the first time and really pissed people off.
To say, I gotta tell you, the checkpoints in the original.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
They made me cry a little bit. I teared up a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe.
But all that's been smoothed out now.
It has. So we brought the things that we learned from the later games, we brought them back into this first game. And the big step, obviously, is even though we originally built Abe in 3D, he was playing back as bitmaps.
Right.
And this time it's all in real-time 3D. But we were able to amortize all those assets that we built from the original game that were built closer to film resolution and then pre-render for the game, where we were able to use all that as a template to build new data, but it saved us a lot of time and money. So it allowed us to put more time and energy into the, getting the gameplay right. And if you look, like even right in these scenarios, these used to be hide zones, but in real-time 3D, dealing with dynamic lighting, you're coming upon things faster, it was harder to do as just shadows. So we had to find solutions like steam zones. So you're obscuring the character enough, and you get the idea that, they're not seeing him. So you play off of those sensibilities, but we had to redesign to make them work in a game where you're moving faster, you're moving continuously, and there was a number of challenges. So as you see, sligs, we're coming upon them so fast now, we had to see their sight distances differently. Like, we really had to treat it as a fresh design. But one of the things we did was we said, well, like in movies, when they remade The Time Machine, which is one of my favorite all-time original movies, why did they change the script? Why didn't they just upgrade it to like a 21st century movie and keep the same script? And so we said, well, what if we do that? What if we stay true to the original integrity of the design? I mean, people are still buying that original game on Steam and PSN, and amazingly, they say the design holds up. And today, 17 years later.
Wow.
And so we go, okay, well, then maybe we did some things right there, but let's not mess with the integrity of that. Let's enhance it. And what was Abe really about? Abe was really about an empathetic character. The idea was, what if we made empathy equal rewards instead of just aggression equal rewards? And if we could do that, maybe we make a more emotionally compelling character. Maybe we make a character that, because he has to talk to other characters and they respond and you feel responsible for them, that we would build a deeper emotional relationship. And that was the idea, but it actually came through. I mean, I think it comes through in all the Abe tattoos I see. And
it's funny that you say that, because you do get a feeling, as opposed to other platformers or games of the time where, oh, I'm controlling this character.
Yeah.
I never felt like I was controlling Abe. I always feel like I'm trying to help Abe out.
But hopefully the controls were working.
The controls are great, no. But I always felt like, okay, I got to do this. Abe and I have to kind of do this together.
Yeah.
And so you feel the responsibility for him. God, I love the deadpan look when he throws people down the trap doors. It's still good. That still makes me laugh.
So the idea was like, how can we take a guy who doesn't have a gun? And I mean, me and other original designers had a lot of arguments about this in the beginning. They said, you can't have an action game without a gun. Yeah. And I was like, we're going to.
Still an argument being had to this day.
And the idea was, that was like the creation of possession, was how do we give you a gun and then take it away without you being upset. That's what really led to possession. And so, how does Abe's mystical abilities give him some firepower, but then not retain that and ramp on that through the game like we expect in most games that are action games. And so the idea was constantly coming back to, how do we have a character who inherently, it really is at the bottom of the food chain, is not the muscle-bound superhero you want to be, is more likely the poor schmuck you are, struggling through life, and maybe he's in a worse space than you are. But the idea was that if we could make him charming and endearing enough and make the characters that he had to save be funny, because he has to navigate them through extreme hazards, and not always successfully.
Right.
And so it's brutally hilarious at times. And what we wanted to do, one of the new things that we did to enhance on that was build in all the ragdoll. So now, you see Abe get shot, and then he falls to his knees, and then he does a face plant into a landmine. It's some really funny, unpredictable events fall out that, we thought was really going to be necessary for this time and era, to just get a lot of the more unpredictable humor happening randomly. And I think that's working.
That's awesome. And so, New and Tasty is coming to which consoles?
It's coming to PlayStation 4 first, and we'll be following up, of course, with the PS Vita and PS3. We don't have dates on those yet. We just have a small team. It'll be on PC. We're still looking at when we'll release Wii U, and Xbox One looks like it's in the cards as well.
I love the idea of being able to finally take this with me as a portable game.
Well, so are we.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much for joining me.
PlayStation